Attention, the following broadcast has been approved by Outcasted OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC podcast. Long time no see. How are you guys doing? It's great to be back and it's great to be home and finally being able to do a Monday Night Raw review for you guys. I missed you guys last week, but I had the absolute time of my life away in Australia at Elimination Chamber. I believe we're planning on doing a podcast talking about the Elimination Chamber Premium Live event this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that so you can listen to all my thoughts. But that's not what this video is about. This is the Monday Night Raw after Elimination Chamber. I'm super excited to talk about it. We got a lot of cool stuff leading into WrestleMania to talk about, so let's get straight into it. Raw this week kicked off with a few backstage segments. Now, I'm really liking the vibe we're getting from these behind the scenes, watching people arrive to Monday Night Raw. So we got to see the two winners of the Elimination Chamber matches, which were Drew McIntyre and Becky Lynch. We got to see them both arrive to Monday Night Raw, walking backstage, getting off the bus. We had a quick recap of Elimination Chamber. Now, they touch over this a few times throughout the episode, so this is the first time we get to see it. First in-ring segment that we get is Dom Mysterio standing out in the ring, and he basically asks Mami, so Rhea Ripley, to make her way out, and obviously she retained at Elimination Chamber. She makes her way out, and she said that she walked into the Elimination Chamber Premium Live event as the Women's World Champion, and she also walked out as the Women's World Champion. And she said that Nia Jax was probably the biggest threat to her reign that she has had, but just like Down Under, Mami is always on top. Obviously, Becky Lynch was the winner of the Elimination Chamber match, so it makes sense for Becky Lynch to come out and actually interfere during this promo segment. Becky Lynch starts off by saying congratulations and says that we both had a really good night at Elimination Chamber. Obviously, her winning the Elimination Chamber match and you defending your title against Nia Jax. And she said, you know, that you also did it in the main event in your home country. What a moment that must have been. But you are going to be flying to WrestleMania just to lose. And Becky goes ahead because Dominic starts trying to interrupt the promo, and obviously people don't like when that kind of thing happens. So Becky went ahead and called him a kumquat, which is it's a type of squash or a pumpkin. For those who don't know, it's not a weird term I shouldn't be using, but anyway. Becky goes ahead and says that if Mami doesn't put Dominic Mysterio in his place, that she will. And, you know, at the end of the day, she said that, Rhea, you've had a hell of a run and you have been the face of the company. She said, but lately it feels like you have been getting fed grapes by Dominic Mysterio. While I've been the backbone of this company and the backbone of the women's division, just doing everything I can to be making sure it's being taken seriously. Rhea Ripley returns the favour by saying to Becky Lynch, first and foremost, do not respect my Latino heat. And secondly, congratulations on winning the Elimination Chamber, because now you can stop disappointing me and actually get onto my level. Rhea goes ahead and throws out the one-liner basically saying that, you know, men seem to always think that they are the backbone, but behind every man is a great woman, and Mami will always be on top. And I absolutely loved this. I feel as though a lot of people aren't really excited for the Rhea-Becky match, but I know that it will be really good because those two are both fantastic when it comes to promo work. Put the two of them together and include their NXT history. I really think we are going to be set for a really good WrestleMania match. After this, Nia Jax actually interrupts and she comes out and starts assaulting Becky while Rhea and Dominic are leaving. We had a few backstage segments, so let's quickly go through those. So we had a Rock hype package. Obviously, he's going to be at Friday Night SmackDown the next 3 weeks, I believe, which that's cool to see him in more of a full-time capacity, but he's definitely not a full-timer at this point. Following the Rock hype package, Jackie Redmond actually catches up with Nia Jax after her brutal assault against Becky Lynch, and she's like, what is going on? And Nia was like, you know, at the end of the day, congratulations to Becky Lynch winning the Elimination Chamber, but I should be the one to go up against Rhea at WrestleMania. And, you know, she then follows on by saying Becky Lynch isn't going to be making it to WrestleMania. Nia says to Jackie Redmond, if you thought it was bad for Becky Lynch tonight, Liv Morgan is about to get it 10 times worse. The first match of the night is Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and no, this is not a repeat of what we've seen 2 weeks ago, even though it is the same match we saw 2 weeks ago, but we're really starting to see the evolution of Sami Zayn's character, that determination, that grit, that passion. He's lost himself and he's struggling to find his identity. Obviously, he main evented WrestleMania last year, and he's really concerned he's not going to have his WrestleMania moment, so we got to see the first match of the night was between Sami and Shinsuke. I am not going to lie to you, this was a really good match. Straight away we're getting some deep arm drags coming in from Sami Zayn, and then Shinsuke ends up taking Sami Zayn to the corner. Sami ends up hitting the moonsault off the barricade, which every time he does that I'm really enjoying. And then we have a commercial break. After the commercial break, Shinsuke Nakamura ends up targeting Sami Zayn, and then we end up seeing him hit a knee to the midsection of Sami. Following this, Sami ends up hitting a clothesline and a Michinoku driver, and then ends up following with a tornado DDT. So Sami Zayn is really getting that upper hand on Shinsuke. They had another commercial break, and then after this, they're both exchanging blows, and then Shinsuke is attacking Sami, but Sami ends up hitting 2 haluva kicks to come away with the win. So Sami Zayn got his lick back over Shinsuke Nakamura, and I'm totally here for this new evolution of this character that we're seeing come from Sami Zayn. We head backstage to a few more backstage segments. Let's quickly get those out of the way. Imperium and the New Day, we're seeing a hype package for their street fight that they're having tonight, and then we end up seeing the New Day arriving. And after this, there was a point in time earlier today where CM Punk actually went on social media and was quite upset by the fact that he's not included in 2K24, but we end up finding out that him and alongside a group of other people are actually going to be in a DLC version, so that's really cool and exciting to see. Obviously, a lot of people who returned later to the company might not have been added in quick enough to the game. I know that Kairi Sane is going to be a DLC, and so is Jade Cargill. This is mainly just because you can't expect the developers of 2K24 to be able to get someone in the game as soon as they arrive. They probably have deadlines to meet, and that's totally fine. DLCs are great because they can always add extra characters in later on, so if you get the DLC version of 2K24, you'll get to play as CM Punk. I'm not gonna lie, I'm maybe thinking about getting the DLC version as well just so I can play as CM Punk, but I'll be happy to get him in any games nonetheless. We had a super quick match after this between Chelsea Green and Raquel Rodriguez. Now, the origins of this match form from that last person battle royale that took place last week to find the last person to fill that spot in the women's elimination chamber match. It was explained that Raquel Rodriguez thought that she won, but Chelsea Green actually left the ring, and then when Raquel thought that she had won the match, Chelsea snuck in and was like, haha, I'm still in the match, but quickly got eliminated by Raquel. So this is kind of where this match comes from. So Chelsea's talking about at the beginning how she's obviously going to beat Raquel and how her 2K24 score is going to increase after this. But that doesn't happen because straight away Chelsea's slapping Raquel, but then Raquel overpowers her and hits her with a fall-away slam and then plants her with a Tahana bomb to come away with the win. As I said, super quick and short match to go ahead and prove Raquel's dominance within the women's division. I'm not mad at it. I'm super excited to see that she's still happy to be performing and happy to be wrestling considering what's going on with her at the moment. It's obviously really traumatic what's going on with her, and obviously very upsetting as well too, being in the public eye. If you guys don't know, she's got a skin condition. It's like a very extreme form of eczema. There is a name for it. I'm not really too sure what it is, and I don't want to butcher the pronunciation, but it must be really hard to be going through something like that, and especially in a very public way as well too. So props to her for showing up at Elimination Chamber and still wanting to perform, and showing up at Raw and still wanting to, you know, put on a show for the fans. We can really respect that. Jackie Redmond catches up with Sami Zayn backstage after his win against Shinsuke Nakamura, and they're talking and they're like, look, we've been catching up for a couple of weeks and you've been quite upset about what's been going on with your trajectory going into WrestleMania, so tell me how you feel after this. Are you feeling motivated? And Sami at the end of the day said that, you know, me needing this win was an understatement, and if I had have had a loss tonight, it basically would have killed my momentum going into WrestleMania. That win reaffirmed the belief within myself that I am worthy and that I can do this, and it's, you know, somewhat finding me a path to WrestleMania. But he said at the end of the day, like, I need to find my path, whether it's me finding it or the path to WrestleMania finding me. Then Ludwig comes in, looks at Sami Zayn, and is just like, ugh. And then he walks away with Giovanni, and we end up seeing a stare down between Sami Zayn and Gunther. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I wouldn't mind seeing Sami Zayn dethroning Gunther to become the Intercontinental Champion. I kind of have a theory about what they're going to be doing with that when it comes to WrestleMania, so if you want me to kind of divulge my thoughts, I'm happy to do that on the podcast. But yeah, this is super exciting, super cool. I would love to see a match between Sami Zayn and Gunther, especially with this new character evolution that we've got going on with Sami Zayn. Following the interview with Jackie Redmond, we saw another Elimination Chamber recap, and then Cody Rhodes explains why he's having a match with Grayson Waller in the main event of Monday Night Raw tonight. We head back to the ring where Gunther and Imperium make their way out to cut a promo. Gunther says that he did defeat Jey Uso last week and he is still the greatest and the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. But he did say that Jey Uso almost had him and he could feel the Intercontinental Championship slipping away from him. He says, look, nobody's perfect, but I'm very close. And before Ludwig and Giovanni end up going after the New Day, I have done everything I can to make this Intercontinental Championship the most prestigious title within the WWE. I've held it for over 600 days. I've beaten everyone who could possibly dethrone me for this. I've beaten everyone for it. And at this point, it kind of felt like he was almost going to say that he was relinquishing it, which I'm happy that he didn't. But he asks, who's my opponent going to be for WrestleMania? And he says, when I go on social media, I see everything that you guys say. You guys have been suggesting Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, R-Truth, The Miz. You've been suggesting all these kind of people for me to dethrone or me to, go up against at WrestleMania. And then the Judgment Day comes out. And I'm a little bit confused by this at first because a lot of people have been very scared that Damian Priest is going to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase on a mid-card title. So when I saw the Judgment Day come out, I was like, oh, I really don't like where this is going. I'm not liking the feeling of this because I instantly thought Damian was going to say, I want it. Anyway, so Damian comes in and he expresses to Gunther, you've had a very dominant run, but it's only second to the Judgment Day. And he said, I don't know if you watched us at Elimination Chamber, but we ran that. And we're going to do the exact same thing at WrestleMania. We're going to add more gold to the Judgment Day when it comes to that. We're going to add another world champion. And, he's like, do you understand where I'm coming from? And he points to the championship. And I'm like, no, please, no. Don't say you're going after the IC title. And Gunther looks at Damian and says, well, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Finn? Is it going to be JD? Who's it going to be? And then Dom steps up to Gunther and I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. And Gunther is like, he looks at him, he's like, you're sending me your scraps. Like, what? And then Dominic ends up getting a promo out, but he's still being heavily booed. And he says, when the Judgment Day say that we're going to do something, we do it. That title belongs to us. And then there's a moment where Damian is looking very upset and he's looking really frustrated and it looks like he's going to try and beat down on Gunther. But the entirety of the Judgment Day has to pull him away. So I'm kind of excited that we've found out that it's not him that's going to be going after Gunther. It's more or less going to be Dom. Gunther's a really big challenger for Dom Mysterio, and I don't really know how I feel about that. Following the interaction in the ring, we have a few more backstage segments. The New Day are making their way out to the ring, considering that Imperium are already there for their street fight. The Judgment Day is returning backstage, and Rhea runs into Dom, and is like, Gunther, are you serious? After all these people, you choose to go up against him. Dom's like, look, mommy, I got this, it's totally fine. And Finn looks at Dom and says, look, I genuinely think you need to smooth that over because there is no way you are defeating him. So Dom walks off to go ahead and smooth things over with Gunther, and he runs into Andrade, and they start talking, and Dom says it's good to see you, and Andrade mentions that he has a meeting with Adam Pearce. Dom's like, all good, we'll catch up some other time. So don't really know if there's a form of, interaction or form of alliance there. It'd be cool to see the interactions moving forward and kind of how that friendship between Andrade and Dom Mysterio plays out. Make our way back to the ring where the New Day ends up joining Imperium for their street fight. Straight away from the very beginning, the New Day is beating down on Imperium at the top of the entrance ramp, and then they end up grabbing a couple of tables. We end up seeing the New Day fly, then we go to a commercial break. After the break, the match actually goes into the crowd where Imperium is in control and they use a steel chair on Xavier Woods. Imperium are double teaming Xavier Woods with the chair, and then Kofi ends up making his way back towards the ring. He hits a really nice crossbody and an SOS as well. Kofi ends up setting up the table, but Imperium both double team Kofi. Giovanni Vinci is on fire during this match. I genuinely think he is one of the best crossbodies within the industry. He's doing a phenomenal job and he goes unnoticed and he's incredibly underrated. Puts on a phenomenal performance in this match. The New Day set up that table. They end up putting Giovanni Vinci through it, but Imperium end up just going completely buck wild at the end of it. They both are just on fire when it comes to beating down on the New Day. They end up getting the win. I'm excited that Imperium is getting the win over New Day because I feel like it's not going to affect the New Day. I feel like the New Day losing this is not actually as bad as some people think. I genuinely think we need to be building up Imperium to be a really strong force, especially when you have the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. If you have henchmen within that faction, they need to be considered really strong. So super excited that Ludwig and Giovanni won this match. Grayson Waller had a hype package after this match, and we end up going backstage into Adam Pearce's office where he's on the phone to Bronson Reed, congratulates him on the birth of his child, and we see Chad Gable come in, and he's asking for some momentum to be made towards him when it comes to WrestleMania. He needs to find his path on how he wants to get there, and he mentions he wants to go after Gunther again, not because of the championship, but because of the family status that he has. He's a father, and he feels as though the last time he went up and challenged Gunther laughed in his kids' faces, and he says, this means more to me than the title, this means everything to me, and I really want to make it happen. Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark end up making their way out to the ring where they have a tag match between Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. I'm not going to lie to you, this match was incredibly short, but it did its job. It ended up helping Shayna and Zoe with their momentum. Straight away from the beginning of this match, Candice is on fire, and then we end up seeing Shayna picking up the speed. She ends up attacking Candice's arm a couple of times, and then Zoe ends up punishing Candice. Zoe ends up tossing Candice, and then Indy comes in for the hot tag, hits a really nice spine buster, but Shayna Baszler ends up putting her in the Karafuda clutch. Indy ends up tapping out, and they come away with the win. So Shayna and Zoe, I believe, are going after the Kabuki Warriors in the tag team titles. I'm not going to lie, I'll be really looking forward to that. I'm not going to lie to you, I would be really looking forward to that match, but I really want the tag team titles to be a little bit more established. I feel as though they haven't really taken off since they've kind of been around, and I know the Kabuki Warriors are doing a really good job, but I just want the titles to feel like they mean a little bit more, because within the last couple of years they've been hopping around different teams and they're not being used, so I really just need WWE to care more about the titles so that I can care more about the titles. A few more backstage video recaps and segments. So we get to see Drew McIntyre is backstage. Following this, we get another Elimination Chamber recap. And we actually find out that not only Elimination Chamber Perth was the most attended, but it made the most money. So WWE, if you are picking up on this video in your algorithm in any way, shape or form, hi, first and foremost. And secondly, Australia needs more premium live events, because not only will I attend them, but you'll make more money, and the fans are fantastic over there. Then we end up seeing that R-Truth is sitting in the Judgment Day clubhouse, kind of reminiscing on what's been going on as of late. He's not in the Judgment Day anymore, but he's taking some time to think about what's been happening. And DIY and The Miz end up joining him. They're like, what are you doing in the Judgment Day clubhouse? Like, you shouldn't be here. Truth is like, look, they're not here anymore, so I'm just taking some time to reminisce. And they're divulging and creating a plan to be able to get revenge on the Judgment Day. The first thing they do revenge-wise is they end up taking R-Truth's TV back. And I think Tommaso makes a comment about, does it have wires? And Truth was like, no. So I don't really understand that, but I'm excited to see that they are forming some form of group to be able to get some revenge on the Judgment Day. I'm excited to see where this goes from here. Drew McIntyre makes his way out to the ring, and he starts cutting a promo. He's super excited after his win at Elimination Chamber and says, we did it. Thank you so much for putting your hands together and praying for this, because we're going to have Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, I am extremely jet lagged, and after my match, I actually had to go backstage to medical. And the doctor went ahead and said that I had a burst eardrum and said potentially this could affect my WrestleMania plans going forward. And I was like, are you joking? Goes ahead and calls out CM Punk, obviously like referring to the injury, and he sits down in his little wee kilt. He sits down in the middle of the ring and does the like legs crossed, arms folded pose, very much like CM Punk does. And he said, you know, I know that you were upset about the fact that you weren't able to be in WrestleMania. I know that you're upset, Punk, that you aren't going to be at Elimination, or you weren't at Elimination Chamber. And he said, you know, this is a very special moment, so I drank twice for you because I know that you're straight edge and you don't like to do that, blah, blah, blah. It was quite funny. And then he welcomed Seth Rollins to come out. Obviously, that's his contender for the match at WrestleMania. So Seth comes out and says, congratulations are in order for you. You got yourself a title match at WrestleMania, and you may have the opportunity to win the title in front of a bunch of people. He says, congratulations on actually getting an opportunity for another title match. And what's different from last time is this time you may actually be able to win the title in front of a bunch of people, unlike what happened last time. So super excited that you could potentially have this moment. He said, but if anything, I am standing in your way of that opportunity. Drew looks at Seth and says, you are right. He says, but why are you making this hard on yourself? I want you at 100%, and we need you here on Monday Night Raw. He said, if anything, I have respect for you and respect for that title, and the thing is, if I become champion, I'm going to basically stick to Monday Night Raw. He says, I'm not taking that title anywhere else. I don't care about SmackDown. If they're burning down and they're falling into flames and they need me to, like, he said something else, but I'm just going to say, like, pour a bucket of water on them. I'm not going to do it, because if anything, that title deserves to stay here. He says when it comes to the bloodline, you do not want to go down that path. You do not want to. For your sake and mine, it is not worth getting the bloodline involved, because we saw how things have gone down over the last couple of years, and we don't want it to happen again. Seth takes what Drew says and he says, look, I respect your thoughts, but sometimes risks are worth taking. You and I have known each other for a very long time, and when it comes to this kind of thing, I have replayed these moments time and time again about what could happen when it comes to the bloodline, and he says, the truth is, you may be right. My knee and my back can give out, but that would be a super easy win for you at WrestleMania, right? But what if you're wrong? The goals that I have, sometimes I think that they will fill the void within me, but if anything, I'm left feeling empty inside. And he said, I've come to realize within the last couple of years after the birth of my child that not everything is about me, and that there is a higher purpose for everything that we do. And he says, if anything, the World Heavyweight Championship and the bloodline is bigger than us. The bloodline want power, and if anything, we need to secure the industry's future here. He said when it comes to WrestleMania, it's going to be me, you, and that World Heavyweight Championship, and as I've always said to you, Drew, may the best man win. And he ends up leaving. So it's kind of interesting to see the dynamic going on between Drew and Seth. They've both been screwed over by the bloodline before, but it's interesting to see their differing opinions on it when it comes to it. Seth wants to fight it, whereas Drew's like, nah, like, it's all good. Just the less you poke the bear, the more likely you are to win the World Heavyweight Championship, is basically what he says. After this, we have the match between Nia Jax and Liv Morgan. I'm not going to lie to you, I kind of just paid attention to this match for the notes. I am also not going to lie to you when I say this. I am incredibly impressed by Nia Jax, and I never thought that sentence would come out of my mouth, but I'm genuinely impressed by her. Since she's returned to WWE after, obviously, her release, she has done a fantastic job. Like, it's insane, the changes that we've seen from her. She was known for injuring people back in the day, but if anything, she's actually really improved in the ring. Her in-ring gear looks fantastic. Her promo work looks great. She's such a menacing heel. I'm genuinely impressed by her, and this match was pretty good as well too. Straight away, from the very beginning, Liv was going after Nia, but Nia ends up doing a Samoan drop, and she changes the pace up on Liv Morgan. She hits the stretch muffler onto Liv a few times as well too, which is kind of a variation of like a stretch leg move over the shoulder. Then we end up seeing Liv Morgan diving over the top rope and tackling Nia, and then we go to a commercial break. After the commercial break, Liv is trying to fight back, and she's trying to punch Nia down on the chest, trying to like beat her down. She hits a code breaker, but after this, Nia goes into the ring post, and Becky Lynch ends up interfering in this match. This is obviously after Nia Jax interfered earlier in the evening, and the match ends with a no finish. We end up seeing that Liv Morgan is sitting by the commentary desk, and she looks really frustrated by what's happening, obviously because she couldn't continue her match and obviously try and beat Nia Jax. Kathy Kelly is backstage catching up with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory before his match against Cody Rhodes later on in the evening, and Grayson is being asked, why is he doing it? And he said, if anything, Cody Rhodes has disrespected me and he's not going to go ahead and finish his story. But one thing that I did notice during this segment is Austin Theory looked a little bit confused by Grayson and a bit unsure of what's going on. So maybe they could be potentially teasing that long-term breakup of A-Town Down Under, which I'm not going to lie, I'm not really happy about if they decide to do it. You shouldn't be creating tag teams to break them down. But anyway, what would I know? I'm not a booker or anything. After this, Cody Rhodes is making his way backstage as well too, obviously trying to make his way out to the ring. And Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, they end up paying tribute to Ole Anderson. Now, he was one of the 4 members of the 4 Horsemen, and he has unfortunately passed away, so they are sending out their well wishes to his family. We're here at Outcasted OC are doing the exact same thing, so we want to say rest in peace, Ole Anderson, and wish nothing but love and support to the family. Becky Lynch is catching up with Adam Pearce and asks if she can have a match against Nia Jax next week, obviously to end her, and Adam Pearce grants her the match. Liv Morgan has a 10-second segment with Becky Lynch after this, and gets upset with her and frustrated, being like, what are you doing? You took my moment away from me. Not everything is about you. So I'm assuming the revenge tour is going to be continuing. I'm not going to say very much on that because it's a touchy subject, Liv Morgan and myself. Jackie Redmond is catching it with Jey Uso backstage, obviously following the match that happened last week where he almost defeated Gunther, and he said that he's just going to keep doing himself, and he was so close to becoming the IC champion, but he kept falling short, and it doesn't matter whether it's with himself or his friends or his family, he feels as though he's coming up short. Drew McIntyre comes in and says, like, I know that you're having a really tough time at the moment, but I can relate to your struggles. And he goes ahead and he says, if anything, you deserve this. And Drew and Jay end up brawling backstage, which I'm really liking this character that we're getting from Drew McIntyre. It's incredibly funny. I don't know. I'm really enjoying the character development that we're getting from him. We are now at the main event. Now this is Grayson Waller taking on Cody Rhodes. It's a really, really good match. I really enjoyed the fact that Grayson Waller got this moment with Cody Rhodes, and this was a fun match. So straight away from the very beginning, Cody's in control, but then Grayson ends up turning it around in his favor. We end up seeing Cody punishing Grayson, and then Grayson Waller toys with Cody Rhodes. Cody hits a really nice vertical suplex following into a front drop as well too. After the commercial break, we end up seeing Grayson Waller is trying to pin Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes ends up hitting a really nice scoop slam and following into a disaster kick as well. Austin Theory comes and tries to cause a distraction with the referee. Waller ends up taking advantage of that and tries to get the pin, which ends up becoming a near fall. We end up seeing Cody driving Austin Theory into the table, and Cody hits a Cody cutter, follows this by a Crossroads to come away with the win. So Cody Rhodes beats Grayson Waller. There was still like 5 or 6 minutes after this match, and we ended up hearing earlier on that Paul Heyman was backstage. It became like breaking news during the show. So once that happened and the match was finished, Paul Heyman and 3 henchmen made their way out to the ring, and Cody's like, look, if this is going to be a bloodline segment where you're going to go ahead and come in and they're going to go ahead and beat down on me, like, just get on with it. Paul Heyman said, you need to take The Rock's name out of your mouth. He said, look, I forgive you at the end of the day, but The Rock doesn't, and I am begging you to please withdraw your challenge from him or else. And Cody's like, or else what? The only reason I haven't rained holy terror down on The Rock is because we were all fans of The Rock when we were younger. If anything, when it came to my family, my meals were determined by the amount of tickets that were sold, and we had a lot of tickets sold with The Rock being around. And he said he's done with being nice, and if this is going to be a bloodline setup, I want them to just come and get me. Then we end up seeing security and Paul Heyman making their way into the ring, and Cody's like, look, if one more person comes and takes a step towards me, I am going to drop all of you. And Paul Heyman looks at him and says, does it matter if it's me though? And so he gets closer into the ring. Cody ends up grabbing a steel chair and just steel chairing all of the henchmen as well. He's just beating down on all of them, and he's obviously trying to get one up on the henchmen and Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman makes his way out of the ring, and he's got 2 phones now. So he calls The Rock and Roman Reigns, and Cody looks at the camera, looks at Paul Heyman and says, I am going to be hunting down the bloodline now. And he just completely just goes ham on the henchmen, which I feel really bad for them. But if you're a henchman for Paul Heyman, you kind of deserve it. And that brings us to the end of Monday Night Raw for this week. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you go ahead and like the video. Go ahead and comment something that you enjoyed about Monday Night Raw this week, because we would love for you guys to be a little bit more interactive in the comments. We'd love to have a discussion down there and a conversation about where we see storylines and things like that moving forward. So don't be afraid to comment something that you enjoyed, whether it's a theory or a match that you could see happen, or just something that you would love to see. We'd love to see what you guys think. While you're there, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on the post notifications so you don't miss any of our uploads. Thank you guys so much for the support that we have been getting as of late on the channel. The channel is growing and we're noticing it and we're picking up on it, and we're so incredibly grateful that you guys are liking what we are doing. Also, while you're there, go ahead and check out the description. We've got all of our personal social medias and where you can find Outcasted on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, so you don't miss any of our other content while we are there. You've got your regular NXT review coming in from Reese this week, as well as the podcast. I believe we are discussing Elimination Chamber. That's still yet to be determined and could be subject to change, so we'll keep you posted. But if you've got your post notifications on, you will not miss when those get updated. You've also got your SmackDown review coming in this week as well too. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here, and I will see you guys in the podcast this week. Bye guys.